Welcome back to another episode on Proven Power Cycles. I'm Eric. There's Daryl. Lewis is in the back. So we're gonna do a little update for you guys today, kind of make it a little brief. So we have a 2017 ZX10R on the dyno. It's a beautiful bike. I wish we'd have done a video on it, but that's okay. Really cool customer. Really not much to say. He's got a 3/4 grave slip on. We're in the middle of dyno tuning it now, making what they normally make on my dyno, about 185 tuned right now. We got a few other things we need to do. We got that going on. We are making some very good progress on the land speed bike here. We have the turbo kit on. Again, this is all kind of mocked up. We gotta take this fitting out. We're gonna be running the electronic pressure fitting now, or gauge now. We got the new fuel rail in. Got the new injectors in. They're 2600 cc injectors, pretty massive. We are fitting the injectors on there. We have the fuel rail on there. We have the fittings for the fuel rail. We're gonna be running the fuel line. We're trying to get all of our routing figured out on this bike. So this is kind of why we're mocking everything up. If you notice, nothing's really like bolted in per se. We're gonna get it a little closer to mounted so that we can get an idea as to how we're gonna route everything. It's a little tricky, guys, I'm not gonna lie. You're trying to mock something up. While you're mocking it up, you can't really, you can, but you got to tighten it all down, take it all apart, and figure it all back out again, and rinse, repeat, and keep doing that. We're making progress on this bike, making very good progress on this bike. Very happy about that. On this turbo ZX14 here, this is the one that has kind of a semi-built motor. It's got a low compression piston and I believe stock rods. We just put a lockup clutch in it. Now this isn't the multi-stage lockup like you typically see with the very big clutch housing. This one just has the spacer plate in it right here. That's the spacer plate, and it's just to give it that little bit of room, and it's just basically the pressure plate has been modified as a lockup style. So that's kind of like the earlier lockup style clutches. They're not as smooth per se as the multi-stage, but they still work really well. So we got that installed. We reran his oil lines on here as well, the oil feed line. And let me show you guys that real quick. So the bike kept leaking oil like crazy. And if you notice, we got no oil down here now, but the bike kept leaking oil like crazy. He was missing tape, thread tape, sealant tape, basically on all the NPT fittings. And for those of you who don't know, if you have an NPT threading, they need to be Teflon taped. If you have an AN fitting, you're not supposed to Teflon tape it or seal the system. Some people like using the goop, I call it. Other people actually like using the tape. Either way, you're not supposed to use any of that for AN, and you're supposed to use it for NPT. Well, it wasn't used for the NPT fittings, hence why it was leaking out. And also the banjo, the feed that goes on top of the turbo. So up there, you can see where the banjo is. See that banjo right there on top of the turbo? So that guy kept leaking oil, and as you can see, there's oil stains kind of all over this turbo, but that was not sealing properly, so we got that all resealed. We reran this line up and over and kind of around and through. Yeah, it's kind of hard to depict it in the video, but we kind of ran it all up around in there, and then out it came back to this feed, back to this T-fitting here. So it's pretty tricky because everything is so crammed in there. As you guys can clearly see, there's not a lot of room for activities. But we got that all situated, and we're gonna be running that bike here very, very soon. Hopefully, crossing our fingers, we can get it on later today. It's a lot to do in one day. We're gonna try. The owner's going out of town, so he really needs to get the bike here soon, he said. Lewis! BS. Did you write that?
No.
Oh, it was like that. I was like, damn. So we've been rebuilding this 14R motor, guys. This one had the exploded rod, not the owner. Yeah. The owner originally thought it was a spun rod bearing, and honestly, man, I feel for him. I really wish that's all it was. It definitely was not. It was annihilated.
You ever watch Jeff Dunham? It just fucking disappeared.
So we're in the middle of the rebuild process. Lewis just got the two halves sealed up. The transmission is in, the block's all done, as you can see here. I'm pretty anal about getting everything cleaned with the new setup. So Lewis went through, got everything clean. We have the balance shaft delete going on. So that's another mod that we've done for this guy. We're deleting the balance shafts on it. So there's that. I'm gonna let Lewis, I'm gonna let him keep working, keep chipping away. We're making progress on the Gixxer as well. This turbo should be done any day. As soon as we get it back, we'll start refiguring out the feed line. We're gonna redo this feed line. We're gonna obviously redo the drains because now we have the electronic scavenge pump here. So we're gonna redo all the drain lines, but we need the turbo so that we can reinstall the turbo onto the manifold, get the manifold back in, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Keep it moving. So we're waiting on all that. There's some other changes that we're gonna make with this bike, but lo and behold as well, guys, we ended up finding out that this is not a built motor. They just ran a thicker head gasket on it. So that's gonna pose an issue all in all. But I think what we're gonna do for time's sake and for the owner's sake right now, we're just gonna get it wrapped up and get this thing back together, get him to where he can actually ride and enjoy the bike for this fall and this winter, maybe even into the spring. We'll see how long it lasts and how long he enjoys it. But he definitely wants more power than what this motor is gonna be capable of. And we're also gonna have to change out the clutch as well. So we're gonna get everything back to him. There's some things that we're working through on this older kit that we didn't, I'll admit, we didn't really kind of see until we start diving into it.
Also, just like your guys' vehicles, if you're buying a motorcycle that is built, ask for a build sheet or have a shop look over it so you don't end up in this predicament.
Yes, that's what he was told, is that this thing was built.
He was told it was a built motor, and after looking through it, it was not.
Yes, yeah, he was told. Yeah, so it's definitely good advice, to be honest with you guys, because a lot of times we hear that a lot, that they'll buy a turbo bike or something, nitrous bike, and they're like, fully built motor, this thing could take 100 shot of nitrous, or it could take 20 pounds of boost. And then you get in there and you're like, dude, all they did, like in this case, all they did was a thick head gasket. They put a spacer in there and that was about it. That's all they really did. The pistons look OEM is all get out.
That helps lower the compression.
Yeah, it lowers the compression a little bit, so you can throw a little bit more boost at it, but again, they're still cast. They're not forged, so they still can't really take a beating like that. And we got this MT-09 tracer in. We're doing some suspension work to this. He's doing a slipper clutch, suspension work, and a few other little goodies. So we're gonna get started on this thing. We do some of the road course stuff, you know, for the guys, that's what this guy's building it for. I have tuned this bike, flashed it and tuned it already. And this is just like his next little step. We've been noticing a lot more people riding these things on the road course. And actually, you know what? Comment down below. If you guys do road course racing, comment down below. Tell us what bike you have and what you use to road course race with. And I'm curious to see if any of you guys have these MT-09, these tracers or not, because there's a handful of them around our area that are racing on road course. Well, they do track days, I should say, not racing, they do track days on road course. And I'm just kind of curious because there's getting more and more support for these bikes. And I'm kind of curious to see what kind of following they have out there. So comment down below, tell us what you guys have, what you guys race with, if you do road course racing, okay? We got the 07 ZX14 on the dyno. We did get him a lockup clutch, which I'll show you guys that real quick. Here is the lockup clutch. Well, at least that's the spacer for it, but it is in there. It's an MTC lockup. We are full on oil. We're gonna wipe this all up here. We're all plugged in, ready to go. Last time we made just over 300 horsepower. We're gonna see what old girl wants to lay out today. It is a little humid, it's been raining, but nonetheless, let's see what she's got. I wanted to go over the numbers real quick with you guys and show you something. So when the owner originally turbocharged the bike, we tuned it on with the stock motor and the stock setup. Stock motor, I'm sorry, and some minor clutch mods, and I don't remember what else he really did to it, but he did it all himself. He was kind of doing like a budget build, if you will. So he got it all done. Then the motor ended up letting go a little while later. He a lesson that he had to learn. So he drove the bike. It was kind of getting up in the high RPMs. He kind of let it linger there for a little bit longer than what it should have been. And he confirmed all this with Rich over at RCC. And long story short, ended up melting the pistons. So Johnny over at Exoticycle ended up building this motor, threw in a low compression piston. It's still on a stock rod, okay? So keep that in mind. But when he came back to the dyno, we had a slipping clutch issue, and we noticed it. And I kind of did a couple of passes, and I said, hey man, noticing a little bit of an issue here. It's not holding the power. I don't think it's the tire. We tried a handful of things to get the tire to grip, and come to find out it most definitely was not the tire, and found out it was the slipping clutch. So, and again, he had done his own clutch mods from somewhere. It wasn't a Brock's kit. It wasn't anything like that. I don't know what kit it was. He doesn't really even know what kit it was. So all in all, we just said screw it. So we ended up going with a 2-stage lockup from MTC. Now it's not the multi-stage. It's not like a full drag racing kit. This is more like a street style kit. Basically you get a spacer plate, and then you get the pressure plate modified for the buttons and the arms, the actuators, and that's about it. It's pretty straightforward. And well, we're gonna go over the numbers to kind of show you guys what it ended with. Now, we were running out of fuel, and there was a couple of other things kind of holding the bike back. Again, there's always gonna be another weak link that you find as you progress through the stages of trying to make more and more power. But I wanted to go over the numbers with you guys and kind of show you what it looks like on the dyno graph, how I came up with basically what I'm telling you guys. So here we go. Let's go over the numbers really quickly. So here's the 07. This is the original 93 pump gas map. We made 279 with 147 foot-pounds of torque, which is going to be our red line here, which this is still a pretty straight line all in all. So we already kind of showed some signs of clutch kind of slipping a little bit. So that was with the stock motor. All right, guys, I just wanted to show you guys that. And then we had the slipping clutch right here at 301 with 165. Now, keep an eye on this. See how we have a nice kind of like little hump, if you will, and then see how it goes like straight lined from here, just straight basically to 10K. It just is a straight line. That very straight line indicates like a glazed clutch, or it's basically just barely holding on. Normally when you get a really bad clutch slip, you'll see it kind of does a little loop-de-loo kind of thing. It like looks like a little roller coaster loop, but all in all, this looks more like a glazed clutch. Like it's trying to hold the power and it's doing the best it can, and it is kind of holding, but it's letting go. And this is how I know that the clutch is starting to slip or glaze over. I can kind of see it. Again, based on this really straight line, it just shoots straight up. Finally, we got the lockup clutch in, and we ended at 332 with 187 foot-pounds of torque. And notice now the entire power band is holding much stronger, much harder. And so here, we'll actually take this point here, which is around 8,400 RPM. I mean, we're picking up damn near 40 wheel horsepower gains just from the clutch holding compared to what it was doing. So, and then up here again, another 20-30 wheel gains, just massive gains just from the clutch being able to hold the power. So just to give you guys that idea, and again, the entire power band jumped up, and it's all from just that holding clutch. And notice now we have more of this is like closer to what a normal ZX14R, what they look like once they are turbocharged. Here we have a little rich spot right here, but honestly, we were running out of fuel right when we got up to this red line mark here. We started to run out of fuel. So we actually pulled his RPM limiter back to right around this 10,000 mark because he was starting to run out of fuel. He had a Walbro 255 pump and stock injectors. And quite honestly, you saw we were at the 332 wheel horsepower mark, and you know, it's probably honestly making a little bit more than that, to be honest with you. I didn't realize until after the dyno session that the front tire was rubbing into the actual metal of the dyno. So if you look here, that rear tire rather was rubbing right here, just on the cusp of this lip, when it was pulling. We did have the rear straps on it, pulling it backwards. But again, something that I didn't notice until the end of the dyno session when I was unstrapping and I looked up underneath there and I was like, ah, shit, it was rubbing a little bit. So even though we ended at 332, he's probably closer to, who knows, maybe 335, 340, something like that. But all in all, he's at that, right there at that brink where they start to run out of fuel anyway on regular pump gas. Now, if you were to go to 100 octane or a 110 or a C16, some of these safer fuels with a much higher octane content, we could actually make a little bit more power and we could have gotten away with the fueling. It would have been fine on the fueling. We don't have to dump as much fuel in there because it's a higher octane level. We can actually utilize a little less fuel volume because it's got a higher resistance to the detonation. So, and we also pulled quite a bit of timing out of this one as well, just to be, again, on the safe side. So we could have added a couple more degrees in there, but again, this is a street bike. It's not a race bike. The guy's not looking for every little ounce of horsepower. He was just looking to have something that, honestly, what he was looking for was 300 horsepower. We made 330 for him, so, and again, probably a little bit more than that, but I'm sure he was like, hey, look, I'm good. I don't want any more. It's a short wheelbase. No, I did not really touch base on it, and I did not make a video on this bike because kind of the situation that we fell into with it. So I wanted to show you guys on that, at least on the vlog, to kind of show you guys what it came out to be. So I hope you guys enjoyed this week's episode. We have a lot going on. I'm actually moving currently, so we'll see if we make one next week, but we're not really going to be around too much this week. But anyway, guys, hope you guys enjoyed this one. If you could, please leave a comment down below, like, follow the page, or follow our channel if you could. We really appreciate it. It goes a long way with us. Every little support we get kind of helps us grow and show you guys more and more stuff. So please tell your friends, share it to your friends. Let them know about the channel. We really appreciate it, guys. And with that being said, we'll see you on another episode.